Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of It. Welcome to Derry, episode 7, entitled The Black Spot. This is the penultimate episode to season 1 of the HBO series that is based on Stephen King's novel It, as well as the movies. This is the episode that me personally I've been waiting on because we got a true origin to Pennywise the Clown. We found out why the entity takes the form of the dancing clown Pennywise, and this was probably, in my estimation, the most disturbing episode of the series. So far, I was just deeply disturbed, not only because we got Pennywise doing Pennywise things here, but we got to see humanity be at their worst as well. So it was twofold, and it was devastating to watch. This entire episode was like, oh my God, man, you can't run from the evil in this world, whether it's an alien entity or just racist people. Humanity, it's all around. You can't escape evil, and that's the feeling I got while watching this episode of the show. Look, that's what it was supposed to do. This played out pretty much how I pictured it in my mind, but more terrifying than I thought. Because in the novel, in the book, that quite honestly I didn't read, but I read some portions of it, throughout time. And I do remember when the black spot was mentioned, it was only mentioned. It wasn't really flushed out, in the books, because it was it was told more in flashback and whatnot. So to get a visual of what took place at the black spot was super disturbing. We were left off last episode with the little cliffhanger, with the racist mob showing up at the black spot. We knew that it was about to go down, but it went down in a major way. This episode begins in 1908 to be exact, where we got to see Pennywise, the real Pennywise, the dancing clown at this carnival, entertaining young children, and very, very interesting start to the show. They could have did the whole show, at least this whole episode, in 1908, because I was so engaged in this story with this carnival act with Pennywise and his daughter and all this here. And, it kind of made you feel sympathy for Pennywise, even though the Pennywise that we know now isn't that Pennywise, that he's just taken the form of that performer in order to draw in children, something like the Pied Piper, if you will, just something that grabs the children's attention, because the real entity was watching from afar as Pennywise was performing and saw how the children were completely engaged in his performance and how they loved him and were mobbing him and whatnot. So the entity got the bright idea, that's one way to get children. This would be the perfect disguise. And sure enough, that's how we got the entity, which took over Pennywise, ate him, and became Pennywise. So good opening. And then we jump into the black spot. And this is where it was completely devastating. This episode was directed by Andy Muschietti, who directed the films and a couple of, I think, the first 2 episodes of the show. So he knows this world, and he knows how to direct horror. That's his roots. And man, he really shot this in a very, very haunting way. Being inside of this club, this ballroom, while it's burning from the inside out, it was it was the most claustrophobic, horrifying places you can imagine being, man. And bruh, the the devastation while the place is burning and you're still getting gunshots from the outside, and how the military, the black military men trying to defend themselves and trying to get out of there and they can't get out, and all of a sudden, just when you think it couldn't get any worse than being burnt alive in a building, Pennywise shows up. And bruh, this scene when Pennywise arrives at the black spot was, I mean, chef's kiss, bruh. I mean, he was he was full on Pennywise. The line that he gave Ronnie when Pennywise took the woman, he acted like, oh, I can get us out of here, you know, and all of a sudden Ronnie runs up and he sees Pennywise feeding on the woman, and he's eating half of her face off. And the line that he delivered, Bill Skarsgård is a beast. The line that he delivers was so funny yet cold blooded. While blood is dripping around his face, he turns to Ronnie and says, "Uh, what's wrong? Do I have face on my face?" And it's like, what is going on right now? It was, oh my God, it was brutal, man. It was brutal. They did not skimp on the gore in this episode. Pennywise chopping Mr. Kirch head in half while his daughter shows up, and she shows up thinking that her dad, that's her dad. You know, she's still under the belief that that's her father. You know, that she can break the curse if he sees her in her oh man, what's the name of the clown that she is? Oh, anyway, in her makeup and whatnot. And Pennywise is like, look, I'm going to sleep. I've got my fill. This is what I came for. I'm good. I'm going to bed. It's nap time. And she wasn't having it. And he's like, look, your dad's not here. I ate him. That's this. This is just a disguise, man. You know. And the Deadites, he opens his mouth to reveal the Deadites. I think they call it Deadites. I could be off on that. Could be thinking of a different franchise. The Evil Dead. I can't remember what they call the lights. But anyway, and she's comatose after that. So she's done for, and Pennywise goes to have his slumber for 27 years. And so at this point, the military shows up, the general shows up and talks to Dick, and he's like, well, I know where the pillars are. I know where at least one of them is. And so he leads them to one of the pillars, and they extract it. And I'm sitting there like, this isn't going to go well. This isn't going to go well at all. And so the military, they take it to be examined and whatnot. At least that's what they tell Leroy, to go be examined and all this here. I'm gonna go back to the black spot. I wanted to skip over it. I really did, but I can't. The most devastating part of this episode, of course, was the death of Rich. And man, not only his death, but how he died. The ultimate sacrifice for Marge, hiding her in that freezer and talking to her while he basically suffocates, you know. I'm glad he didn't burn alive, but either way, I mean, death is death. But I didn't want him to get burnt up, you know. But yet and still, suffering is, he still suffered. It was devastating. But he went out like a soldier. He went out like a knight. You know, that's the story he was telling her, that, you know, knights don't just pee in bottles or whatever on side of their bed. They also protect their maidens. And man, at that moment, bro, I almost broke. I almost broke. I was like, man, I'm a grown man. I'm not supposed to cry in this moment, but I almost broke, bro, because he went out like a grown man. That is a grown man move. R.I.P. to a soldier, bro. He will be missed. One of my favorite characters on this show this season. I love Rich, really did. I'm gonna miss him. The show is gonna suffer for that, even though we only have one episode left. But I'm gonna miss him. Um, he sacrificed himself for Marge. So, anyways, we Hank gets out with the kids, and they hide him out at Leroy's house. And so they find a way, but the police and everybody around searching for him believe that he was burnt up in the black spot. So he's pretty much home free, but he has to get out of Derry. And so Charlotte is trying to devise a plan to get him out of Derry. She takes him to Rose to see if she can help get him out. And as far as the military is concerned, they lied to Leroy. They weren't going to do any research. They were going to destroy the pillar. They had put it in an incinerator, or at least the 1960s equivalent to an incinerator, and and Leroy tries to stop it. He talks to the general, and the general tells him, like, this was never about Russia. This is about this country. How this country is tearing itself up from the inside out. Boy, the more things change, the more they stay the same, huh? I mean, that was well, what, 60, 70 years ago. We're still being tearing ourselves out, tearing ourselves up from the inside out, I should say. But the only thing that can control this is fear. The only thing that can stop this civil war that he believes is coming is fear. And so it wasn't about capturing the entity and unleashing it on our enemies. It was about unleashing it on us, because he pointed out that, yes, look at the devastation that took place at the black spot, but look at Derry today. Nothing is happening because everybody has the fear that this thing brings. And that's what he wants to do, this to stop it. It's like breaking eggs to make an omelet. That's the way he's looking at it. And so Leroy tries to defend, what's right. We can't let this thing out. But ultimately, of course, it doesn't go that way. They burn up the pillar. And as they burnt it up, Pennywise, who is in his slumber in a pool of blood and bones and guts and stuff, awakes. And we flash to Will, who is at home. The phone rings and he answers it, and it's Ronnie, and they're talking about Rich and how he died, and Will is trying to comfort her, it's going to be okay, and Ronnie's like, no, I can just imagine how he died, how his lungs burst open like popcorn and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden the voice starts modulating, and we hear Pennywise, and there's a back and forth. He's screaming, I know who you are, I'm not scared, putting on the front, I'm not scared. And he turns around, and Pennywise is on top of the refrigerator, completely covered in blood from his little blood bath, I guess you could call it, and leaps out at Will. Will is frightened to death, and all of a sudden he opens his mouth to show the lights, and Will begins to go into the trance, and the episode ends. This has been a season, man. I don't know what's gonna happen for the season finale, but man, if they would have stopped it right here, I would have been cool. I would have been all right, because this was as close to perfect as you can get this season, as far as what I was looking for out of this season. Was it the best thing I've seen on television ever? No, it wasn't that, but I like it. I like the miniseries from the 90s. I grew up watching that, and then the movies were really good. The first one was great. The second one, it was good. The second one was good. I wish it was great, but it was good. And I'm just a fan, and I'm a fan of Stephen King. And so going into this series and getting some backstory, expounding more on the lore of Derry and of the entity and of these characters, it has been a outstanding an outstanding experience, man. This has been Sunday night viewing that HBO is known to give us. Just great television. Yeah, next week is the season finale. I hope that they can land the plane. Going by the trailer for next week's episode, it looks like hey, all hell's about to break loose. So I'm confident that it's gonna be just as good as the rest of this season. I can't think of one bad episode so far. Honestly, I know they had one slow burner, maybe two slow burners, but nothing I would categorize as they could have kept that episode. No, they were all good. All of them are good. This is the best one to me so far. It's probably recency bias. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. Give it a couple of days, let it settle. But I deeply enjoyed episode 7 of It. Welcome to Derry. I would like to know, what did you think of the penultimate episode? We only have one episode left, ladies and gentlemen. What did you think of this episode? Are you excited for the season finale? Are you thirsty for more? Do you hope and pray for a season 2? If you do, let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of It. Welcome to Derry, episode 7. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.